Hello friend. In this session we are going to learn about some tips that are necessary while conducting an interview. So as we know that conducting an interview is one of the most important steps when hiring. It lets you interact with a candidate whose background and skill seems like a good match and allows you to see if their personality and skills are a fit for the job for which we are hiring. So basically it is a long process, sometimes it is a short for some organization. But in this lengthy process, you need to gather everything you need to know before the candidate departs. So, an interview should be a two-way conversation that the interviewer leads. So, let me just share you some tips which will be helpful for you while conducting an interview, which will make your interview a little stress-free. So, number one step is confirm all details. Make sure everyone is clear on all the interview logistics 24 hours beforehand. Send an email to confirm the date and time of the interview, how the interview is being conducted, in person, Skype, phone, etc., and how long you can expect it to last. Also, always overestimate. If you expect a 30-minute interview, then it's better to ask for 45 minutes of that time so that no one feels rushed or in case if it is goes longer. So if suppose interview goes longer, then it will be better to say 45 minutes than a 30 minutes. So because the candidate will think, oh, it is a 30 minutes interview but now it is taking a longer time. So it will help you as well as the candidate when you just stuck with a typical time. The second tip is make comfortable environment. So that means that the candidate who is coming for the interview is definitely likely to be a nervous. And if suppose he is a fresher, then definitely he will be nervous. But if he is an experienced, then he will be little nervous. But nervous is a possibility. And you should take some steps to make them feel comfortable. Sit at the same level as the interview to ensure that you are not looking down at them. Be aware of any large gap between you, such as big table or desks, and minimize the space, but don't sit too close either. Introduce yourself warmly, make sure you pronounce their name correctly, and thank them for coming at the end of the interview. The next tip is be prepared. So, be prepared is definitely like doing your homework. Make the candidate feel important by familiarizing yourself with their resume or LinkedIn before they arrive. Tell them what is your post and what you do in your organization. This will not only help you figure out how to ask better interview question, but you can ask personal questions that will shine much more light on their skills in comparison to their asking a generic questions. So the interview should feel that you are well prepared for the meeting and are invested in them. The next tip is extend professional courtesy. The candidate will definitely be will coming from a long way, like if not a long way, then also offer the candidate a glass of water and ask if they need anything before you get started. Make some small talk that did you find our office okay, how was parking, how was office infrastructure, how is your entry, like how you feel when you enter our office premise, and give them a moment to settle in to make sure that they are set to do their best. If you notice that they are that is too cold or hot, the office, the cabin is too cold or cold, make you may ask if they would like to adjust the temperature to make them more comfortable. Instead of shivering while interview, it is better to ask him before starting the interview. The next tip will be describe the job and business. So it is like introduce yourself and your role in the company and give an overview of the job, what the business does. Your description will add to what they already know and provide reference for the rest of the interview. So tell him that if he is well prepared with the job requirement, if he has understand what the job needs, what is the role he is applying for, so he fits the role or not. Ask him such type of questions. The next tip is explain the interview agenda. So setting up an agenda for the interview will help the candidate understand the expectation and the flow. For example, you can let them know that first you will be explaining what the company is looking for, then move on to asking them some questions. Then they can ask some questions in return, and that you will be ending with an office tour, like telling him that this is the cabin and this is the place where you will be sitting if you will get selected and all. Apart from that, if someone else will be joining you for the second half of the interview, you should let the interview know in advance. Keeping the candidate informed about what to expect will make everyone more comfortable. The next tip is to be consistent. Through you should personalize each interview. It will be easiest to compare candidates if the questions you are asking is consistent. Like asking the same question to each candidate, or you are asking the same level of questions to each candidate. Consistency will keep you better organized as well as help create a solid go-to list of questions, discussions, topic to use later. The next tip is to don't rely on memory. So basically keeping track of multiple interview is challenging. So basically it is to down notes, wrote down the notes and do it on paper so that you don't get distracted like you might on a phone or computer. This organization will help you if you have to discuss each candidate with other colleagues. Like suppose you have shortlisted three or four candidates, so you have three different pages for each candidate. So after that you can just have a word with your manager or with a group discussion with all your team that see we have these three shortlisted resume and sorry shortlisted candidates, so whom we should select. So at last this paper will help you in identifying the best fit for your role. The next tip is to stay flexible. Through you should aim to get through your most important questions. It is important to let the conversation develop naturally and perhaps off topic as well. If it will help you to get a better know the candidate and their skills. Like instead of asking all the set of questions that you have on paper or on laptop, it will be helpful if you were asking some off questions. So it will definitely make some good rapport with the candidate. Also, that some encouraging information will emerge that your straightforward questions alone will not have achieved. So the next tip is asking appropriate questions. It's important to know what kind of interview question you can't ask potential employees. So like for example anything about race, age, marital status, religion and political affiliation are off limits. You cannot ask related to these questions to your candidate. Also, if you ask these questions, then you and your company are at risk of being accused of discrimination and legal action could follow. The next tip is to paying attention to the non-verbal cues. Look at the candidate body language to gauge things such as their comfort level, level of honesty, interest in the job. Are they just looking at the clock, getting bored, and comfort with eye contact, especially important for customer facing roles. Their words are important. Their words are important, but how they present themselves non-verbally is an important factor too. The next step and the next tip is to be conversational. The interview format should not just be question answer and all. Make sure you are including some conversation as well. Make everyone more comfortable. Get to know the candidate on a deeper level. You want to show the candidate that you are not just a robot. You ask question and that you want them to be able to show their personality too. You can also tell that if you have any question to be answered by me, so please ask. So that how will be a two-way conversation will take place. The next tip is dig for answers. Since you only have a limited time with a candidate, it's important to get real answers. Don't let a generic or a rehearsed answer slide. Instead, dig more information and ask follow-up questions. Like if you ask one question, then dig more into it. More into it. Go deep into it. The question, like go to deep level. If he answers in the Also, you can push for more information, but do move on if you sense that a candidate is uncomfortable. The next step is to ask behavior question. Basically, the question that start with tell me about a time when you are struggling or like when you are searching for a job. So help show how candidates have dealt with challenges in the past. This is a great way to engage their decision making skills and what they learned from past experience. You can also ask questions that begin with how you deal with a problem, or how you deal with a, you can give a live problem example which you have faced to the candidate. So how you can deal with such problem to see how they will solve potential problems which will be helpful in the project. The next step is to involve a few others. Instead of a one-on-one interview, invite some other colleagues to join in. Make sure to sit in a way that not too intimidating to the candidate, like make a round table conference, which is better instead of making a circular fence. This will let you get a few more opinions. If the person is higher, then these colleagues can take ownership of the hire and have reasons to help that person succeed once they are on the team. The next step is looking for a real solutions. Make sure the person you are hiring can really do what you need them to do. Like for example, if you are hiring a chef, then definitely he should know how to cook a meal. If you are looking for a writer, then he complete a sample article. Lots of candidates look great on paper, but make sure they can actually solve your problems by putting it to the test. Also, just remember that honest communication will keep you in a better position for hiring a candidate. So always remember to thank the candidate at the end of the interview. So in this session we have learned tips for conducting the interview. Thank you.